See, we can't even get to the intro. Yo, I am your man's Nic Rattlehead, and welcome to an impromptu episode, a much needed episode of Aftershock Reviews, your place for great reviews. And you might notice that I've got somebody here with me that you've never seen before. So how do I introduce this man? The immaculate, the one-of-a-kind, my very good bestest friend in the wild. Aside from Matt, I love you, Matt.
We miss you, man.
Oh,
Lord. You're doing well, man.
Bro, I miss you.
Honestly and truly.
But this is the amazing, the incomparable Jay Burritos, otherwise known as Jibbie Jones, otherwise known as my man's Jason Russell. Gotta put the B in there, too. Jason B. Russell.
My man.
Because where would we be without the B?
Where?
Yes!
My man! We on a roll.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to be here with you today. If you're not familiar with me, what's wrong with you? My man Nick here, Aftershock Reviews, doing his thing. Our humble beginnings together come from a little old rinky-dink podcast we used to do, Runaway Jukebox, you know what I'm saying? I'm here to join my mans. There was no way we were going to let this opportunity pass. No way. My man is the perfect he's the intersection of everything we're getting ready to talk about today.
Well.
No way we wasn't going to talk about this. I said, Nick.
Well.
Bring that booty over here to this house. Come sit at this table. Come talk to me about this album. Let's get it, bro.
Let's get it. Now, what is this album we're supposed to be talking about today? I got plenty of requests for it, so here it is. We are talking about Jesus is King, the latest offering from Mr. Kanye West. Every second. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not even going to leave anybody in suspense about how I feel about this album, and Jason will tell you once I'm kind of like at a good stopping point.
Yeah.
I do not like this album.
Don't let any of this fooling around we doing fool you. And I'm gonna let Nick go give his whole spiel because I feel the same way.
Okay. Okay. Good. Great. So I was waiting just to hear what you had. Okay.
Go ahead.
Cool. So I'm gonna have to digest this album in two separate ways.
All right. Because
you have to look at it musically and you have to look at it from where he is as a person. Because one thing about Kanye is, what I've noticed is, because of the way he portrays himself in the media and things of that nature, and how he literally puts everything about himself out there, we know his story, right? We know his story from college dropout all the way up to now. So we see his progression as a human being. So I know, so far as Christians is concerned, me included, is we like to see this modern day Saul to Paul, if that makes sense. And for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, Saul is a biblical figure in the Bible. And he was somebody who used to persecute Christians. He was more on the lines of a modern day one of the people who actually crucified Jesus. We call those people, I'm going to be a little bit more stuck up. They were Christians, but they were kind of stuck in their ways, right? And Saul was one of those people. He actually watched Stephen be stoned to death, right? And he ends up having his encounter with God, and then he himself becomes a Christian. And one of the most important Christians, where he actually writes the majority of the New Testament in the Bible, right? So the reason why I compare it from a Saul to Paul situation is Kanye, who is somebody who is a cornerstone in modern day media, for better or for worse, and somebody who made a habit of saying, I'm a God, things of that nature. I
am a God.
Exactly, things of that nature, right? Makes such I don't want to say a violent shift, because we kind of saw it coming a little bit when it came to the life of Pablo. Okay. But now it's coming into full fruition, if that makes sense. Because the life of Pablo, he kind of hinted that it was a gospel album, but there was still a plethora of cursing, which is what kind of put Christians like myself a little bit on edge, because we're like, especially like Ultra Light Beans, where
the first song on the album,
we're dropping F-bombs and things of that nature. But then on top of that, Kurt Franklin's at the end of the track, and we're like, okay, now we get it. And we get it. And Kurt Franklin's, to all my people.
Doing his Kurt Franklin
During his Kurt Franklin thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm not mad at that, but I was just like, you might want to ease up calling it a gospel album, right? Especially on tracks like Father Stretch My Hands, where you're talking about bleaching,
assholes.
Exactly.
I'll say it because Nick.
Thank you.
I got no problem. That's what I'm here.
This
I'm only here to curse. I'm not here to do anything else.
This is why
I'm here to say what he can't say.
Exactly.
He's gonna hit you with the biblical stuff. I'm gonna hit you with the hedonism. That's how this works.
Amen.
Let's
this
go.
is how it's always been.
That's right.
But this is what I mean. Like, you have the gospel sample in the background, but you're talking about stuff like that, which is why we were a little bit more hesitant to accept,
to claim that as gospel.
Exactly. Accept that as a gospel album. But now he's completely in it. Now we see the Saul to Paul transition happen. And he's talking about things that are actually very biblically sound, right? And
y'all didn't know y'all came here to learn about the Bible, did you? You thought you came here just to talk about Jesus is king. You learned about Jesus.
Oh, yeah, you got to get the whole thing.
All right, that's
we
right.
got to give them the whole thing. You got to
it.
give them the whole context
That's right.
of what's going on.
All right,
here.
all right.
So now you can understand why some people are saying, we love this album.
Okay.
And why some people are
You've been
saying,
thinking about this for a
we
minute.
hate this album. Oh,
Right.
a lot. A lot. And it brings it back full circle for me because it feels like I'm supposed to like this album, right? I am because a lot of this stuff has sound doctrine in it, right? And because I am so happy to see Kanye's transformation, his transition from point A to point B, right?
You say you're happy about that?
I'm happy about that.
Okay.
If that gives him peace and things of that nature, like if he feels like he finally found what he has been looking for and he found it in Christ, amen. And I could not be happier, right? So with that piece, I'm good.
Okay.
Now, my problem is the musical front, right? My problem comes in is because musically, this is an album filled to the brim with intros that lead absolutely nowhere.
It's just a bunch of unfinished songs.
It's a bunch of unfinished songs,
Yeah,
right?
I can feel you.
Whether
on
we're
that.
talking about tracks, and we'll get into more detail with the tracks, whether we're talking about tracks like Water,
Yep.
or we're talking about tracks like Hands On, or we're talking about tracks like Use This Gospel, right? A lot of these tracks feel like they have a more grand ending to them, right? But we never get it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, because he's doing what is it, Sunday service? I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, he's going to different places around. I don't even think it's the country anymore. I think it's the world where he's going. It's not even just church. Like a few weeks ago, he was at Howard University. But basically, he's going to different churches, and he has like these congregations, like the choir, and everybody there. And he's delivering these like pseudo sermons. I think like where he's partly talking about Jesus, but also partly talking about like himself, and, which is we'll get into it when I start talking about it. Yeah, but it's very. It feels like he's almost starting a church, It's really weird.
Yes.
Especially for Kanye West. Like, it's very strange.
And the thing about it is, like, I don't mind, like, Kanye telling his story. You see what I mean? But you also have to make sure that when you're preaching to people, your doctrine has to be insanely sound.
Do you believe his story?
I do. I want to believe his story.
You want to believe that he's found Christ and it's changed him and his outlook on life and everything. I feel like we all do, right?
I want to believe that.
Yeah.
And I can't say that he's like that.
You
is
ain't gonna call
wrong.
a man a liar.
I'm never
Yeah.
gonna call that
Right.
man, especially when it comes to something like that.
Yeah.
Like, never.
Okay.
But forgive me sometimes for having some reservations,
Yeah.
right? Especially after watching, like, did you watch the Beats One review that he did?
With
the interview
Zane
that
Lowe?
he did?
No, it was
Yes.
2 hours long. I wasn't planning on
Okay,
sitting
so
through that.
I watched it.
Okay.
And the thing about it is he was saying some really powerful stuff, right?
Okay.
But then there will also be times where, like, for example, he alludes to at some point in the interview that the fact that the culture became his God, right? And then that fed his ego and things of that nature. But it seems he alludes to it that the Lord, that Christ has delivered him from that, right?
Okay.
Like, the culture was my God, but he had to realize that there's something else outside of that, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And he's having to leave a lot of the characteristics from the culture behind, right? Like his daughter wearing the outfit that he didn't necessarily think was all that great, or the way that Kim Kardashian necessarily dresses, and he's trying to address that. I'm not sure if you would want to do that in public or not. Right. That might be a conversation for behind closed doors, but yet and still that goes back to what we were talking about. He always lives his life in front of the camera, in front of everybody.
Even more so with just, he's always been a big public figure, but I think even like since he's been married, it's been even more aggravated. Like that whole moment you're talking about like him addressing his wife and like how she dresses, like that happened on her show. Like that was out in the open for everybody to see. And I'm just like, is this really a conversation y'all need to be having for TV?
Exactly.
You know? Yeah,
exactly.
I feel you on that.
Exactly. So for me, I want to believe him.
Okay.
Long story short, I want to believe him.
I feel like we all do. Like, and this is, I mean, if it's not already obvious, like we've been following Kanye for 15 plus years. Like me especially.
Yes.
I have been a Kanye stan.
Yes.
Up until like 2, maybe 3 years ago when he went on his Yeezus tour, and not Yeezus, when he went on his Life of Pablo tour, and he was just like, hey, I ain't vote, but if I would have voted, I would have voted for Trump. I'm just. That's when Kanye had to go that far before he lost me. I feel like Kanye has always had this cult of personality around him. He's always had antics from George Bush doesn't care about black people, which was hilarious even to this day. The whole Taylor Swift VMAs thing, like he's always had, even in the Life of Pablo, the whole line about like Taylor Swift and him having sex and the bleached asshole, like he's always had his ways. And I think it wasn't until he just personally offended me and like my whole sensibilities that I was just like, I can't deal with this anymore. Yes. And it got worse last year with the whole like slavery is a choice.
Yes.
The whole like thing he was going with. That's why you had to tell me, people like you and other people had to tell me like, oh man, you gotta listen to Daytona, you gotta listen to Kids See Ghosts. Like, if it wasn't for people telling me like, okay, those albums are actually good in spite of all the stuff he was talking about, I'd have checked out on this. Like if Nick didn't call me Friday night and just like going on for a minute about this album, I wouldn't listen to it because I don't like, I have Kanye in this capsule. Like the Kanye that I enjoyed the most is messed up as he was. He existed in that era before he really started like wilding the hell out, like sitting, hovering above stages and just talking nonsense for about an hour. And I think I'm with you, honestly, where it's like, I want to believe that the man has found God and is ready to change himself for the better and is giving himself to God and all these other things like that. But I have a hard time believing him. I just, maybe it's the cynic in me. I want to, getting back around to the music doesn't do enough to make that case for me.
And I think that's another shortcoming for the album, because it feels like, you remember Lemonade? And remember when you told me, it's like, Nick, you need to like listen to Lemonade, it's great. And I was like, okay, so have you seen the visual for it? You was like, I saw the visual first. Right. You see what I mean? And then that helped the album, I believe, with you, because once you saw the visuals and you had those images in your mind, right, you listened to the album, and then like the songs brought back those images to your head, and you were able to enjoy it more. Yeah. You see what I mean? I'm thinking that when it comes to this album, we have to experience Sunday service first, because I have a coworker whose friend went to Sunday service, and the track used this gospel. You remember at the last 16 seconds of that track where the beat actually drops. Right. He says during Sunday service that beat actually goes for at least 8 to 10 minutes.
Oh, really?
And he says his friend told him that once he left Sunday service, he was almost brought to tears about how beautiful it was and how powerful it was. And so for me, it's a situation where I was wishing that power, that impact, that flood of emotion that people are experiencing in Sunday service somehow made it to this. Yes, made it to this album. I agree. So we're talking about it. Let's get into it. Jason, well, I'm gonna start with you first. Okay. What did you think about this album musically?
Musically, there are flashes of like great Kanye in like throughout the album in a lot of different places. I can't say that I like the whole album. as we said in the beginning. I don't know. I really like. I don't know how to describe it. It's weird because like it's not a gospel album. We already talked about that. It does not. To me, it does not feel like a gospel album. In the way that you say that, like your friend went to the Sunday service, or even just the way that sometimes, like when you go to church, where you get into the praise and worship, and that there is that moment. It clicks for you where it's just like the music's been going. Like sometimes the song will go for like 8-10 minutes, and you're just like, God, this is moving me.
Yes.
Nothing here did that for me, honestly. And what's great, the closest thing that did is actually the first song, which is like every hour is a beautiful rendition. Like, and it's so short. It's frustratingly short, but it is such a beautiful, like, it feels like a quick flashlight onto what I think Kanye was going for with this album and this entire sound as a whole.
Yes.
And it ends much too quickly. I cannot wait for people to sample that song because it's made for that, I feel like. It's just such a beautiful, the choir sounds awesome, the piano sounds awesome, the vocal, everything is great about that song.
Yes.
And when I heard, you called me on Friday, told me how you felt, and when I listened to that first song, I was like, man, I'm about to have to disappoint Nick because I am really rocking with this. Like, this is great. And then Salah comes on, and I'm like, oh, no, it's gone now. And it felt, it's like, it's atmospheric, and it feels like it's building to something, and the climax is just like,
yes,
exactly. Doesn't
Falls
work
flat.
for me. The end of the song, it feels like Kanye loses the tempo somewhere, and it just doesn't end in a satisfying way, which is, like you said, is something that I feel is repeated a lot across this whole album. Follow God is the best song on this album by a country mile to me. I don't.
This is why I rock with him.
I don't know.
Listen to me.
I don't know.
This is why for 9 years.
Yeah,
this is why I rock with him.
If the whole album was Follow God, it wouldn't be a gospel album, but it would be a fire album. His cadence, like that Christ like. I said, yo, yeah, like so the first song comes on, I'm like, yo, this is dope. Salah, I was like, you feel like, but okay, I see what you, but I'm not feeling. Follow God came on, stretch my hand. I said, whoa!
Stretch my hand.
God.
I did what my dad meant. He tell me that ain't Christ like. I was like, let's go.
And then a problem that repeats itself across this whole album is that like it's really, really good for about a minute and a half, and then it just becomes nothing. It's just him rambling on. I'm just gonna repeat the lyrics to the song because Christ is like, and then the song is over, and then it leads into one of the worst songs I have heard this year, possibly this decade. Closed on Sunday.
Ooh, okay.
It was made to be a meme, not in the way that like Hot Shower by Chance, and I'm gonna make Chance comparisons later on in this review.
Let's go.
Not in the way that like Hot Shower by Chance off the Big Day was, but like memey in like the worst way, like in a way that you think internet culture, you think how to make people laugh, have a good time, but oh my God, this is just trash.
Is it as bad as a meme moment as la-di-da-di-da?
That was good. That was good. Like at the very least, people made fun of it, but it's just like with Kanye, Father Stretch My Hands Part 1.
Yes.
You hate the line about the bleached asshole.
Yes.
But every time that song come on, if I fuck this model, she just bleached her. Like you sing it because I would never do that with the song. It was on Sunday. You my Chick-fil-A. You my number one. With the lemonade. It's so bad. And then the choir in the back, ooh, like the choir's doing the heavy lifting of the song. Like the production is doing the heavy lifting. Yes. But it's so bad. And I'm just like, oh my God, like this ain't it. On God didn't do it for me at all. That the production on that song I actually hated. I wanted to like his cadence, but he just really wasn't talking about much. Everything We Need is another song that I wanted to like a lot. It's like, like the production, the drums are really good. Ty Dolla $ign. Just his features sometimes are just A1, but like the song just the line about like Eve and the apple juice, and I'm just like, oh, you thought that was creative, huh? That's cute. Okay, but like I like the sound of the song. The same with like Water. Like I love the beat, like the melody itself, and then the chorus. They are doing the heavy lifting. They're doing everything. This is like Kanye is there. Kanye is supposed to be the star. Kanye is supposed to be telling us about like how God has saved him and like how the church has done this, that, and the third thing, and I'm just not getting it. And at this point, it's getting frustrating because I'm just like, what are you trying to tell me right now? Like, what is this? Who is this for? What is the purpose of this album?
Yep.
And like I said, by the time we got to track 7, it was starting to get frustrating.
Exactly.
God is another one. I'm just like, what is it? What is it? What are we doing here? Who are you talking to? What is the purpose of this thing existing besides it's just out? Hands On is when I got like upset because first of all, Fred Hammond was on there at the end. But before we even get to that, this whole time on this album, I'm thinking that he's like, and he's giving it to us in the music to a certain extent, like Jesus is Lord, King of Kings, quoting scripture. He got the nerve in Hands On to just like come at Christianity and the Christians, and it's just like, oh, they gonna judge me for this. But I'm like, I thought the Christians were the only ones that's like really 100% on your side here. Like, you still got people like me that's like, I'm still not with your antics. Like, but if anybody's gonna forgive you, if anybody is about redemption and forgiveness, it's gonna be the Christians that you're going to. These places, these churches that you're going to, these places that you're going where people are saying, "Come on in, man. We know you crazy. We're not gonna take your money, but we'll take your word." Like, so why are you coming at their heads like this? Why are you like, Christians gonna judge me for this? Christians, they the most judgmental people. Like, who are you talking to? Is the whole point? Are you not trying to be like, thank you God, thank you Christianity? I'm trying to convince other people to follow God. Like, so what's the point? What's the point in all that? So that is the song that I was just like, I don't hate this album, but Use This Gospel came on, and I wanted to be more excited that Clips the big headline is that Clips reunited. I haven't heard Malice since he became No Malice. I thought Pusha T couldn't save the song. Pusha T's verse sounded a lot like Kanye's on Salah, where it felt like he lost the beat a little bit. No Malice came on, and I was like, oh, okay, you know what, this ain't not bad. It's a little corny, with the rape talking about the stuff that Pusha T be talking about, the faith talk, the stuff that he's talking about. Okay, and the line about saving his brother when he lost his faith. I like it. Kenny G, why are you here? I do love me some smooth jazz. 93.7 R&B featuring Kenny G. You know what I mean? Like, I like it, but why? Right? And then the song.
My turn's coming. Trust me.
The song gets amazing at the very end, where it's just like, why? Pick what you want to do, man. Like, what is this? And and to be fair, throughout the whole song, I love like the melody without the drums and like bang 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 bang. I was like, I actually kind of dig this, but it wasn't a whole lot. Like, Kanye didn't really do enough for me.
There's a reason why you did. I'll get there.
Kanye didn't do enough for me. Pusha T didn't do enough for me. It was nice to hear from No Malice. Kenny G was there.
For just whatever reason.
It didn't even feel like a flex. It's like, how do you flex with Kenny G in 2019? That's not what he's there for. But then the end of the song, I was just like, yo, what? Come on, man. Like, and then Jesus is Lord is just a closer. It's something. It's definitely not every hour, but it ends. And that's how I felt about the music of the album. Like, it's overall, the music is fine. It's a lot of like, I have to detach myself from him and his antics to enjoy it a little more. I will say that. But like, when I think about Kanye, you're not really giving me enough to make me feel like this is real. And again, I know I'm being a cynic here. That's what makes me like it a little less, because I'm just like, I wanted to know more about what brought you here. And I may get that from like watching your Sunday service streams or watching the Jesus is King film. I don't feel like I should, like, you are a musician, like, and your work. Yes. We talk about this all the time, even when we did the podcast. Like, your work should be enough to speak for you. I shouldn't have to go watch a 2-hour interview with Zane Lowe. I shouldn't have to go watch an interview with Big Boy. I shouldn't have to see you on TMZ melting down to understand like what's going on with you. Like, you put it. My favorite musicians are the ones that just put it on wax. Like, that's where it goes. Like, I'm just like, because I feel like I can relate to you in a certain way. Maybe not. I'm rich and I don't know what to do with my money, or like I can relate to you. Like, I'm depressed. I'm going through all this other stuff. Like, I need to find Jesus in my life. Like, I get that. And if this album would have done that for me, I might have been in church this Sunday. I might have been, you know what I mean? But like, it just didn't. I didn't get what he thinks he gave me. That's kind of my big thing.
Okay,
go ahead.
Musical.
Now I'm ready for this.
Oh no,
I'm ready for this.
Now, I heard Every Hour, and I heard the Kirk Franklin choir come in with all of the Kirk Franklin Rebirth runs to match. It's like he listened to Hosanna. It's like he listened to 9/11. It's like he listened to Caught Up. And he said, you know what? I like that. Altos, I hear what you're doing. I'm going to go ahead, borrow that, put that in here real quick. And then he made, to me, one of the best intros to an album I've heard in a while from him.
Okay.
So for me, that automatically set a precedence for me. I'm like, this is going to be great.
Right.
Because I'm automatically thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to get a little bit of this, and then he's going to do something else completely different, and it's going to blow me away.
Yeah.
Run it. I'm ready for this. And then Salah comes in. Now, here's the thing. I didn't necessarily hate Salah in the beginning. And I don't even want to use that word. I don't hate Salah. But the thing about it is, I was hoping it would be sort of a Father Stretch My Hands Part 1, Part 2 type of thing. Because there is an idea that was clearly established in Salah, right? With the choir, and you're ready for another sample to come in, or a beat to drop, or the music to go to a completely different direction, or lead to another complete idea.
Yeah.
It's like me talking to you now, and I'm talking about Kanye, then all of a sudden I switch, and I start talking about somebody completely different.
Right.
Or I just stop.
Yeah.
And
that's
now you
it.
don't know what
That's
I'm
it.
saying.
Right.
Exactly.
And I'm just looking at you like, and?
Keep going.
Come on.
And that's what Father Stretch My Hands Part 1 and Part 2 from Life of Pablo did.
Yeah.
Part 2. From Life
I
of Pablo.
thought you were speaking French. Part deux.
Oh, no. I'm not that good. I'm not that good. Because on Father Stretch My Hands Part 1, there was clearly an idea.
Yeah.
And then seamlessly, it went into the Panda sample.
Up in the morning.
Exactly.
Bad.
Exactly.
Yep.
And you're like,
Yep.
okay, I see what you're doing here.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great way to go, but it literally just stopped mid-idea and went to Follow God. Now, Follow God. I am 100% with you.
Bruh.
100% with
Bruh.
you. 100% with you. That is the best song on this album by far and away, because he
It's
had
not even
something
close.
that he wanted to talk about,
Yep.
and then he said it with an engaging beat,
Yep.
and then it went to the next track. So I'm not asking for Kanye to go 9 minutes. You don't have
Nope.
to go 9 minutes.
It's
But
less
what
than 2
I'm-
minutes, ain't it? Yeah.
It's less than 2
Yep.
minutes. But all I'm asking you for is to complete your idea. Put a period.
It almost
at
felt
the
like he
end of
ran
it.
out of idea. That's all kept
Exactly.
going, right.
Exactly. And,
Yeah.
and that's my thing. Like, if it's not fully fleshed out, if it's not an idea, then just don't put it on there. You see what I mean? Like, for me, and I know I said put a period at the end of it. A lot of these tracks end with commas.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for the rest of it to finish, and it never does.
Right.
And the thing about Follow God that I love about it is, look, Christ-like. Like, he's talking about, like, you know, how he's bumping his head and what led him to this point of feeling that he had to change his life, and something needed to happen for him to find that peace, right? And like, even then you start to hear a little bit of the altercation between him and his dad, like sprinkled throughout the track, right?
Yep.
He's like, you know, I argue with my dad, and he'd tell me that ain't Christ-like. And then at the end of the track, he's talking about like, yo, my dad says something to me. I started, he started spazzing on me, and I started spazzing back, and then he screams. And I'm like, huh, cool. I'm not even mad at the scream. You know what I mean? I'm not. Because clearly there was a narrative here, and the narrative was told. On to the next one. Close to Sunday. Close on Sunday. I don't like it. And the reason why I don't like it is there's not enough for me to chew on. Like, I love the cute acoustic elements of it.
like the little guitar.
Jason, I actually like Closed on Sunday, You My Chick-fil-A. I actually kind of like that. It's so blissfully corny that it's Kanye. It's blissfully corny. Okay. Like, he knows this is whack. Mm-hmm. He knows this is a little bit silly, but he said it anyhow, and I'm kind of on board with that. I'm on board with it. I liked it.
All right. Hey,
but that's
his
the
own, man.
only part of that track that I liked. On God, yet again, we have an interesting idea that goes absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
The production is dope. That's about it. And the thing about it is, for me, a lot of the messaging in this album that would be so powerful, right? Mm-hmm. That would, for me, would touch a lot of the lives is, and this is for me, this is my opinion, is strangled out by cringeworthy lines, mm-hmm. unfinished production. And with that being said, we have to move on to Everything We Need, completely forgettable for me.
Oh.
Completely forgettable for me. I didn't too much care for Ty Dolla $ign's feature at all. The beat was like, okay, that's fine. Water is where I have my beef.
Okay.
Water is where, like, one of the epitomes of the problems with this album is. It comes in with this interesting motif, this aquatic motif. Almost, anybody who knows me and anybody who's watched the reviews knows that I love mental imagery when I'm listening to a song. I literally see a water baptism while he's doing this track. And I think it's gorgeous. The choir interjecting itself at random times, almost like punctuations, accents, things of that nature, right? And that beautiful chorus. And then it ends. Like the beat doesn't shift enough, right? It's like I'm waiting for it to do like, here it is, All of the Lights. Now, you remember All of the Lights from My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy from people who don't know.
Chef's kiss.
It has that clearly synthesized horn intro that goes into the meat, the crux of the song, right?
Yep.
And then as the song almost leads you to believe that it's fading out, it goes into a whole nother thing, right? That goes on for like 3 minutes where he's literally just ad-libbing into the mic, putting on the bells and whistles, things of that nature. And the thing about it is this album makes me appreciate, dare I even say,
I need to hear you say
like, My Beautiful Dark Twisted
you listen. Hey, Aftershock family. Y'all don't know how long I've been dealing with this guy. I've known him since when this album came out. And he a Kanye stan just like I am, like I said. And I've had to convince him to no avail that My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was that sauce. And of course, to you and me, that's obvious. But this album makes you say that's it?
Because the thing about it is, I always thought with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, he was just being long-witted and just insisting upon himself. Look at how great I am. But no, I see it now. He's completing the idea. No matter how grand it is, no matter how overblown
he lets it go.
And he'll let it go.
Yep, he'll let it go.
The real cut for All the Lights is probably 10 minutes long.
Yep.
Once we're done with it. It's literally almost 10 minutes long.
And it's got an interlude to begin with. Like, before it even comes in with the horns.
But he says everything he needs to say. Devil in a New Dress is not 10 minutes long, but still the narrative is completed. Water is a situation where the idea feels like it's strangled out right before it comes into full bloom. And that's
one of the longer songs too, which is just pretty
Let me see how long this song is. Water is, in fact, 2 minutes and 48 seconds long.
Right.
Of what, though?
Nothing.
What beautiful
ideas?
What you're saying. Beautiful ideas that fall off of a cliff.
Yep.
And it is infuriating. So we're going to move on to hands-on real quick. Jason, hands-on. So I got a little ahead of myself, Jason.
Okay, let's talk about it.
I got a little ahead of myself, Jason. Check this out. So I went on the hands-on, but let me backtrack real quick because I guess my mind has selective memory. Like if it's traumatized enough, like it will probably try to like forget something, right?
So let me go back. You?
No, it's this song that traumatized.
Oh, okay,
right?
okay.
And it's sad because the message of it is beautiful. God is, right? It's literally him telling his story. But now here is the problem with that track. Now people are coming to me and saying that they like it because of how raw he is on this track. Right? It's literally, for those who don't know, it's him singing over a very skeletal production, right? But the thing about it is Kanye can't sing.
Nope.
And we've forgiven him a lot of the time because of the elements he puts around his voice.
Yep.
So I'll use, for example, Streetlights from
Yep.
808s and Heartbreak.
Perfect
right?
example.
Now, we all know the story of 808s and Heartbreak. That's the album he recorded after his mother died. And
Right.
things like that. He's literally laying his heart on wax, which goes back to your point, right? Your favorite artists put themselves on wax. And that's exactly what he did with that album, which is why I love it so much.
Yep.
Streetlights in particular, because yes, while he's singing, auto-tune is helping his voice. But on top of that, he has some of the most atmospheric, ethereal, and lush production on that track in particular that helps bring you in to the idea of that track, which helps put you in the mindset to accept what he's saying, and his voice does nothing but give it more personality, right?
Right.
Here, his singing is so bad with nothing to help it that it's distracting from the message for me. You see what I mean? Like, I can't digest his story because I hear his voice crackling and falling apart throughout the duration of this track, and the beat does nothing to help him. It does nothing. So it distracts me from his Saul to Paul moment here.
Right.
It really does. And it's for me, it's heartbreaking. Right? It's heartbreaking because I want to like it more. There have been other artists who are taking this more raw approach. Summer Walker with Fun Girls from Over It. She can't play guitar. She can't play guitar. You can hear the buzzing on the frets. You can hear her missing notes. All that other good stuff. But what makes that track forgivable and, dare I say, good is the fact that, yes, she is so raw in her emotions, but her voice is helping her.
Yep.
She has such a strong voice
that
it's helping her. Kanye has none of that to play to his advantage with this track. None of that.
Right.
Hands On, I don't like Hands On. And what hurts a little bit more is the fact that, I'm going to be real with you guys, I love Fred Hammond.
Yeah.
Pages of Life, chapters 1 and 2, is literally not even just one of my favorite gospel albums, but just one of my favorite albums in general. If we're always saying top 10, no. If we're saying top 5.
Let's go. Top 5, top 5, top 5.
That album is fighting for 2, and it's fighting for number 3. Because, number 1 is still Dave Matthews, number 2 is still Backstreet Boys. Millennium.
Right.
But
solidified.
Still.
But for that album to come that close to the top,
it means something to me.
That's right.
Spirit of David, great album. Purpose by Design, great album. Like,
Stan.
Dude, let me tell you something. To hear Fred on this track, especially with the lyrical content, like you said, where Kanye is almost just like, it's like reverse psychology, right? So he's saying like, you're not going to accept me. So in him saying that us as Christians won't accept him, right? He's hoping that we will accept him. We'll be like, no, Kanye, of course we accept you. Of course we hear your story. Of course we want you to make your music and have your Sunday service. And yes, Kanye, come in. No,
Man.
You don't have to do that.
That's what's so weird. I don't mean to cut you off.
Go for it,
That's
please. What's
so strange about the song. It's like, if Hands On was the first song that he recorded after like his first day in church, like whenever, because again, I ain't got much to go on from this album. Mm-hmm. If he walked into church, got saved all over again, and came out of the studio and played this song, I would understand it then. Like if he just released it as a Lucy or something, like I just came back from church, here's a song that I came out with. But like, you've been doing this Sunday service thing all year, like, and Christians, Black Christians in particular, have shown you that like, they are welcoming you back in, regardless of all the stuff that you've been saying.
Exactly.
Why is this still here?
Exactly.
That's what's so frustrating.
It's counterproductive.
Yeah.
It's insanely counterproductive. And it's a little, for me, it's just like, I don't want to say it's insulting because it's not, but you don't have to pull reverse psychology on me for me to accept you.
Right.
Just make the music. If you feel like you have to go on any type of interview and explain the ideology behind this album, fine. But you don't have to say, y'all won't accept me. Like, no, yes, we will. Just be genuine, make the music, we're good, right? And then use this gospel. This is the biggest waste of a clips feature I've ever heard.
Man.
And not even just the biggest waste of a clips feature, but the biggest waste of a Kenny G feature that I've ever heard.
Smooth.
Why is he here? Why is he here? But I get why he's here.
Okay.
I know exactly
he just
why
came to
he's
Revelation Live.
I know exactly why he's here. He's here as a transition to another musical idea. So we have
like he's the bridge between.
He's the bridge between that staccato all day beat. Because if you go and listen to All Day,
and you know what? You just segued right into something. Yes, there are so many references to other songs, to other albums and things of his on this album that I think it just like strategically placed where they are. It just reminds you like, not only am I Kanye West and I'm the shit at like what I do and producing, but like you still love me. So it feels like that's another thing that makes me like a cynic about it. It just feels so forced. You know, like give me tell me why we're here. Tell me how you got here. I don't need to be reminded that you used to be great in my eyes. That you still make amazing music. That's already out there. Whatever you got going on does not change that fact. You don't have to do this.
No. No, just tell me and that's the thing. I get what you're saying. Tell me your story. But the thing about it is, I think in his mind, he's making a gospel album. This is a gospel album, right? What
to him.
My problem is, this goes into, I say I have multiple problems with this album, right? Yeah. This is the granddaddy.
Okay.
This is the one.
Uh-huh.
Just because, and I've had to have this conversation multiple times, just because you say Jesus' name on a track does not automatically make it good.
Yep.
Just because you're putting yourself on a track, right?
Yep.
And then you say Jesus saved me does not make it good. By that logic, that means I should be able to grip one of them recorders that they used to give us back when we were in the first grade, and we used to have to play hot cross buns or play or play songs out of them stupid Disney Beauty and the Beast books.
You say, I love God.
Yes,
I love God. Oh, that's amazing.
Exactly.
Yep.
There you go, baby. And then it's a good song. No, it's not. By that also, we can then stretch this logic by saying, God therefore does not deserve excellence.
Now, when he explained that to me on the phone last week, that is what made me sit here with y'all today. Like I said, I am like I was raised in the church. Like I go to church every now and then, but like Nick is like, I mean, godly as it gets. God love me, but anyway. When he explained it that way, and I was just like, you know what? Nah, we gotta talk about this.
Yeah.
Because you're not wrong. Actually, when you say it, it's just like, oh, you can just put anything out there. God is here. I love God, and then all of a sudden, it's just like the most amazing thing ever, and it's almost insulting.
It is insulting, and that's why I admire like churches nowadays who are like, yo, you can't just walk into the choir. You have to audition,
right?
Or you can't just say I play drums. So now you're going to play with us in this coming up Sunday. No, you have to audition.
Right.
Why? Because we want to put forth excellence.
Right.
God deserves, if anybody deserves your best, it's the person who gave you the gift in the first place. So at this point, if you're saying you're a Christian, if we're going by if you're not a Christian, you don't have I'm not expecting you to abide by that logic. Right. I'm not expecting you to go through that. Okay. But if you're saying you're going by the book, if you're saying you have adopted this way of thinking, does that not mean then you should put your best foot forward? I should not be able to, I'm not saying you have to make another My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I'm not saying you have to make another Late Registration. I'm not saying you have to make another Graduation. All I'm saying is do the very best you can. Flesh out your ideas. You see what I mean?
Give God what he deserves.
Exactly. And you did not do this here. Yep. If we're talking about Fred Hammond, since he's on the album, on Pages of Life Part 1 and Part 2, he has a song called Please Don't Pass Me By. It would be horrendous if he had just cut that track midway through, right? God deserves every bit of what you have, especially during worship services and things of that nature. Yep. Even if you're one that has to throw his hands in the air, or if you're the one who literally just lets the music wash over you and you're quiet, you're giving the Lord everything that you have, correct? Yep. Why are you not doing that here? Why are you not doing that here? And
that's part of that frustration.
Exactly. And then on top of that, for me, I'm even more frustrated because if you're saving it for Sunday service, if you're saving it for me to be like, oh, you have to come and see the live version of this album, right, to fully get the whole idea, right? To me, that's still a problem. That's even more insulting.
That's televangelism. Right?
Exactly. Yep. That's like somebody getting on the microphone and saying, oh yeah, buy my book if you want to hear the whole sermon.
Exactly. And give you a little free trial, and then for more,
buy the book. And you're like, man, if you want the whole version of this sermon, buy the book, or you can buy my series. You know what I mean?
And then again, just taking that even further, not only go watch my film, buy my $170 sweatshirts that just says Jesus is King on it. You know what I mean? Like $170 sweatshirt. You know what I mean? And it all just feeds back into the capitalism that Kanye is, and that is also in the lyrics too. You know what I mean? Talking about like the IRS gave him his money and all these other things like that, and it's just like that's the part that makes me like more on the negative side of it. It's just like I want to believe that this is where you are right now, but there's still so much of old Kanye that's surrounding this, and I understand like it's not an instant thing to find. It ain't, but maybe you need a little more time to give us something. Like this feels like you just dipped your toe in it for me.
Exactly. This is like, because he's still in the middle of the interview that I was talking about with Beats One, while he's talking about like how his ego got delivered and things of that nature. Like he's talking about like how God delivered him from all like past Kanye and whatnot. Sure. He still says the most Kanye thing I've heard him say in a while. He says, and this is not a direct quote, but I'm gonna try to say it as best as I can. I am unquestionably, undoubtedly, the greatest human artist of all time. It's not even a question anymore. It's just a fact. So for me, when I hear that now, I'm like, yet again, it's not an overnight thing. You're not going to be like the best you can be so far as your walk with Christ. Like, because no Christian will be that way this side of heaven.
Right.
But for you to say something like that,
ego is still there.
It's still there,
right
and
there,
it's strong.
Front and center. Like
and
nothing
it's
ever.
Strong.
It sounds like it came out of the Yeezus sessions. You know, where he was just yelling at Zane Lowe like, "I am a god. What you want me to say? I am a nigga." Like that. It's coming from that same place for me. Like it may not have been delivered with that same energy, but you're still saying the same thing.
It's still saying the same thing, and it still came off very pompous and things like he was back then, which made me not like him for a while.
Right.
And then on top of that, it's just like, so are you sincere? Like, or are you just, as a masterful artist, trying to paint another picture in order to make a buck off of it?
Right. Supposedly, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Supposedly, he's not making secular music. That's what I've been hearing. Is that after this, like that's he's not making any more of his old music. Like this is where he's going from now on. I don't believe that. I just don't. That's my, like, regardless, he can still be like, you know, the Christian that he's trying to present himself to be in this entire experience. But I just don't. I think at a certain point, money's gonna talk, and he's gonna be right back to where he was before.
Or like Jay-Z will come knocking or things of that nature. Yet again, and this is not me questioning his walk.
Right.
I'm just saying there are still things that kind of make me flinch when it comes to this album, even musically, because the ideas aren't finished, which makes me think I have to go watch Sunday service to complete the ideas. But what happens when somebody doesn't have access to Sunday service? Which is why I had a beef with Lemonade. It's just like, Lemonade came out.
You had to have HBO to see it.
I had to have HBO to see it. And then it sounded like when people would say, Nick, you don't like Lemonade? Oh, you have to watch the movie to fully get it. Why I gotta do that?
I was one of those people.
Why I gotta do that?
Yep.
Why can't I just listen to this album, appreciate the album? The album stands alone as its own work and fully presents the idea to me. This does not. And which is why I say musically and in its execution, this is not a good album. It's just not. It's just.
I feel like we said more nice things than I thought we would.
Because there's so much stuff that you.
But it's frustrating. Yeah, it's frustrating how there are just flashes of greatness in it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
There's flashes of quality that really you don't follow through with it on.
Yep.
So that was long.
That was a mouthful, right?
But we had to do it.
Yeah.
There's so much to unpack here.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, Jason, J Burritos, Jibbie Jones, tell them where they can find you.
Man, let me tell you, let me hit that plug on them. You know what I'm saying? Let me hit that plug. Walk. So obviously, J Burritos is not my handle anymore. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Jibbie Jones, JIBBIEJONES. More importantly than me is the brand. Right now I'm doing Twitch streams on Dumblinks, twitch.tv/Dumblinks. We play all kinds of games. You can find me Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. I'm actually going to be playing games right after we get done with this. But I knew we couldn't not do this for y'all. There's no way.
There's no way. There's no way. And now, with that being said, I am Nic Rattlehead. And To my man who isn't behind the camera, you are still my man. 100 grand.
I'm not here to replace you at all.
I love you, Matt the Graph. And until next time, peace.
My man. Right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Boy,
Yes.
you
I love
already
it.
know.
I love it. I love it.
Boy.
I love it.
Nah.
I love it.
Nah.
I love it.